Good morning, everybody. And it's Matthew and Teepa. And this morning we're going to respond to a question that somebody brought up regarding GPS locating systems and the challenge and the concern they have for that particular situation. The mother has a GPS watch, has an Apple Watch that she wears all the time, puts it on every morning, and she's always with a carer. However, they have spotty cell service and they have spotty location systems. So even with the watch on, it may or may not be able to locate her if she were to make a turn that was a little different or decide, oh, that's interesting and go a different direction. And I wish I could say that's really rare. I know it happens with my system, and I do not have an Apple Watch, but I do have a phone and I do use it. And it's like, well, that's not working. And I think when we get reliant on technology and even other human beings, when it comes to being somewhere, it's super important to realize that human beings have desires and preferences, and they also have habits and routines and behaviors, and they use a lot of visual data to help them figure out where they are in the world. And then they use thinking and memory and everything else to figure out, well, where do they want to be? Is it matching? And when it doesn't match up, frequently there's an immediate desire to go, okay, well, how do I get where I want to be then from here? Um, and if I know I don't know, I'm much more likely to seek out support. But if I think I know how I could get from here to there, if I think I could figure it out, if I believe that about myself. Now, Matthew, what would then be something to really notice about somebody before we even get into dementia when it comes to risk taking as far as spatial navigation. In other words, finding your way in the world. What do we want to notice about somebody, even coming into this? What do you think?
Yeah, so Teepa, I know often we talk about noticing those patterns of what a person does use when they are navigating a space or when they're going from place to place. And
Mhm.
so, is it that they use landmarks? Is it that they use, oh, there's that tree that somebody had carved a name in years ago, and I know if we go to that tree and we take a right, so things like that are consistent commonalities that is that person, and how they typically navigate their spaces is like a helpful thing to try to pick up on is that.
Compared to, huh, excuse me, I am looking for the local Baptist church. Now, I know I'm not far from it, but I'm a little turned around. And would you help me out? Do you mind?
Yeah, so asking for help, that is being able to go and find somebody when they recognize that, ooh, I'm not in the right place, or I know I'm somewhere I should be, but I'm not
So,
quite sure.
yeah, so if I'm not a good place finder, but I'm a good people finder, then
Oh
I will go find people to identify place. If I'm a good place finder, I may go to a place to find people. And depending on whether I'm an introvert or extrovert, that also colors the water. But
yeah.
what can start to happen, it gets a little tricky. And so I'm going to go to my care partner guide here because let's say now we do have some brain change. And I'm going to take us to the page that I tend to use a good bit to get myself started when we talk about things like how do we help? What kind of systems, what kind of additional systems, what kind of backup systems do we want? What are our options? So I am on page, it's Roman numeral 2021, which is where we have the gem state model. And on the first part, it's going to identify what are the abilities that we're seeing and where are we seeing some shift or change. And I would say that being in an unfamiliar place and seeking to find where I want to be is something that can happen to anybody from when I'm still clear and absolutely totally functional and flexible, but I just in this moment, I'm in an unfamiliar place and I've got to figure out how to get from this because there's a detour. And so I've got to now figure out, okay, so if I want to go over to the local store, and that road is out due to previous flooding and the bridge isn't stable, so we have to figure out a way around it, I'm going to reroute myself. Now, again, yeah, Matthew.
Teepa, I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Could also in this situation, could it be that I'm getting to a place and I see things and it starts to connect to some things I've done in the past, and now
Uh-huh.
I'm moving on to different tasks because, oh yeah, there's you know what, I'm supposed to go do something over there, or you know what, actually I think I was so that other side of, I get to a place, I see visuals, I see things, and now this is starting to connect for other reasons why I should be here. And I could go off course because now I'm in a different play mindset.
Well, I mean, I could decide, wow, that's going to take me quite some time. You know what? I'm going to go to another store. I know the store I can go to. So I could stay with my thought, but modify my plan, or I could actually switch plans and not realize that I'm missing something. And get really, I'm right. This is true. And it does make sense. But now I'm not exactly doing what I thought I was doing. Now I'm on to a different task and then a different task. And that's whether I have sustained attention. So, one of the tricky parts is combining time and place, not just people in place, but people, time, and place. So, when I get to a diamond state, as long as I can do it the way I've done it, I'll tend to stay on track to get places. But when I'm run into trouble, I'm likely to go back to where it was. Like Matthew said, go back to that landmark. Let me try again. Go back to that landmark. Let me try again if I make a mistake. Whereas emerald state is when I'm really losing track of the big picture. And I am much more likely, which many of you might have been thinking, when I see something, I do something. When I see another thing, I'll do that thing. If I don't see something, but I want to do something, I may get really fixated on getting somewhere. But the somewhere and the someplace may not exactly still exist. So for me, I live in Hillsborough, North Carolina now, but I may in that moment think, oh, well, I need to get back to the bridge going over to Westover where my grandma has the restaurant so that I can ask her for money because I want to go and get, and it's like, whoa, what just happened there? Well, I did a little switcheroo. And that's where a lot of wandering with purpose, elopement with purpose, because I'm going somewhere with a purpose. So it's not like I'm just roaming about, which is when we get to amber, it's more of a sensory experience. If I like a sensory experience and I'm enjoying it, I keep going into that sensory experience. If I don't like a sensory experience, I want to get away from it. And I may get away from it quickly without thinking. And then we have Ruby, where I'm just moving, I'm just going, or I'm just stopping. And when I'm stopping, I want to get down, settle down, and just be. And when I'm going, I go until I can't go anymore. And if you'll notice, if you have this card, we do have this card complimentary as well, not part of the Care Partner guide. It will tell you what happens with my vision. And because vision is so important, it really matters. Now, when I'm in a pearl state, I'm not going anywhere except in a dream state unless someone supports me getting somewhere. So there's potential for getting lost from sapphire, diamond, emerald, amber, ruby. And when I'm in pearl, I'm actually inside myself. So I'm less likely, except for sleepwalking. That does happen for people who are totally inside themselves, but their bodies aren't shut down. We see it in Lewy body, and we see it also in some other situations. Kids have it. I want to focus down here at the bottom on getting a person to do something. So how could I get somebody to agree to a system? Now, I want to go back to what systems exist. There's GPS. There are other systems that try to keep track. One that has the highest success rate for finding people should they leave an area you don't anticipate is called Project Lifesaver. And it's designed to use a radio signal, and it's hooked into a radio monitoring system. So you have to wear the device, and the battery has to be changed regularly. And there are programs associated with this particular system all over the world. The good news, it has a high find rate. And if you notify right away, typically they can do a search. They have aerial searches. They use drones. They use people. They use local law enforcement or the agency that uses the system locally, usually some nonprofit or a group that has opted to do this. The downside, the devices that you can wear are still fairly ugly and utilitarian. Some of them are designed for use with people who don't want to be monitored, like a teenager with autism who has elopement risk, and they're in school during the day and there are issues. Um, People who are not liking anything on them. And so they make devices so they can't be removed. There's also the other side of that device is it looks like a hospital bracelet. We keep working on trying to get something that is more user friendly and yet still securable, but something that looks nicer. And every system that I've looked at, that's a bit of a challenge. We still don't have the thing that I would recommend and I would like to see. So I don't know, maybe there's someone out there who's interested in creating the device because the locating system is great. The challenge is, what does the device look like? Now, in another session, because we've run out of time today, we can talk about how do we negotiate? How do we introduce this device if we are trying to get a device for someone to wear? There's lots of ways people have done this, and some of them are more user friendly than others, and some are more respectful and seeking permission. And I'm always seeking permission. So when I do Project Lifesaver, and I'm an ambassador. I mean, whatever we want to call that. What's that called? I don't get anything for it other than I choose to step forward. Disclosure, full disclosure, under
Full
full
disclosure, yeah.
disclosure. Yeah, there you go. I was trying to think,
Yeah.
what's the word? Full
Yeah.
disclosure.
Yeah.
I'm one of the ambassadors because I do believe in the program.
Mhm.
My challenge is how can we get the bracelets to look better? So I'm into cosmetics because I have people in my life that would like it to be cosmetically more pleasant. But overall, we've got to come up with systems, and there are some, but unlike dogs, you don't like tag people. So, I mean, that's not an okay thing. So we are always looking for how can we do this?
Yeah.
And the tricky part is GPS is effective, and these systems are effective as long as the battery's alive.
Mm.
Um, so these things are waterproof. Those things are all true. So there's so many variables. All right, everybody. Matthew, final thoughts.
So Teepa, it sounds like for right now, the idea of noticing what has been my consistency in the past. How did I navigate my spaces? Was I a landmark finder, and that's what I would use? Am I a people finder, and I would ask for help? That ability to pick up on what those consistencies are and what I might do, but then also thinking about routines, things that I've done for years, and if I'm seeking sensory or if I'm seeking just movement, and being able to notice those pieces too,
Notice those
because
gem states.
yeah,
Yeah.
that connects to the gem states that you brought up and why they're so helpful. So that idea of being able to use that resource to see where we are, but also remembering where the person has been before and the things they've done before, because that can really help us kind of figure out why are we going places and doing things and what's happening and what can we do to be supportive versus, well, no, they should just stay where they're supposed to stay. And why don't they just stay there?
Or why don't they stay with the person I have them with? Or why don't, and again, thinking of who somebody is helps, but it doesn't mean you have all the answers. So looking for a team and building that awareness in your community, huge advantage, if it's done the right way. So till next time, everybody, take care with your care, take care of yourselves. And we will come back to this topic to talk a little bit more about this idea of how do you introduce it. And I'll even see, I have a video clip of Karen and I talking about this. And I'll see if I can do that with a couple of other folks that we work with here to get their comments, their thoughts about how this might work for them and why they would agree to it. All right, everybody, take care.
Thanks, Steve. Bye, everybody.